As a woman, you are taking care of yourself. You are working also. You are handling the social calendar for the family. You're mothering your kids. And now you're mothering your man also. And you shouldn't be.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of women, especially women who are moms in particular, can feel like this a lot where they wake up one day in their relationship and you're just like, oh my God, I feel like I've become my husband's mom. How did I get here? And so that was one of the main parts of the main episode I put out for my podcast, The Breakup Breakdown, which is on Bert's podcasting network, Pioneer Network. Legally, we have to tell you that. And she talked about how 3 years into this relationship, she's like, I just feel like I do everything for this man. I cook for him, I clean for him, I pay the rent, I bought all the furniture, and there were some other shady things that happened in this relationship, like he lied about a medical diagnosis, but that's just another part of the story. So every week I do a main episode, and then on a follow-up episode on Thursdays, I'll have an expert come on and talk about specific things that come up in that episode. And the one thing I wanted to talk about this week was what do you do when you realize that you're mothering your partner? Because I feel like it's so relatable. So many women can just fall into this trap of just taking care of everyone, and then all of a sudden it starts to become very unsexy because now you're your husband's mom. Mm-hmm. So I got this expert on. Her name is Samantha Whiten. She goes by Dr. Psych Mom because she's a therapist, and she also has a podcast too. So I knew she'd be the perfect person to comment on this. And I wanted to get to the root of why. Like, why would a woman in any circumstance want to become the mom for their partner? And she said, when you look at the root of why, it usually comes from a place of lack from the woman of feeling like you have to overcompensate in order to attain love. And she called it over-functioning. And this is how she describes it.
Some women do think it's cute at the beginning, and it gives them subconsciously this in. They can make all his doctor's appointments. They clean up his house. They make him food. Oh my God, he didn't go to the dentist in 6 years before we dated. I made him a dentist appointment. And you really do feel needed, especially, again, if you struggle with any core beliefs that maybe you're not good enough for just showing up. And you need to bring these things that you do in order to make the person love you and need you.
It's basically a way to quantify your love for somebody. Like, oh, if I can make his doctor's appointments, and if I can make him food, and if I can drop him off at the airport, and if I can pick him up from work, or if I need to drop off something at his office because he's forgotten something, I can do all of these things to show that I love him, and therefore he'll love me back more because of all these things I can do for him.
I'm interested. Does your expert talk about, because that's how I felt in past relationships at the beginning. And then as they evolve into longer relationships, it's not always about that for me. It's, if I don't do this, what happens down the line? Like the dentist appointment, for instance, right? I haven't had it, but in my mind, it would be, I'm making them because if I don't, they'll never go to the dentist. And then down the line, we're going to be out of pocket, possibly tens of thousands of dollars for root canals or veneers or whatever needs to happen. So I've got to do this now to avoid disaster I'm going to have to clean up and pay for later.
So she describes that as an under-functioning partner. So what she just described is somebody who over-functions, and then sometimes that can teeter your partner to become under-functioning. So I asked her, I'm like, how do you pivot from that? Like, what do I have to do as a woman to say, hey, I don't want to be your mommy anymore? And it sounds so lame and like such a boring response, but she's just like, you just have to communicate with your partner. And I know that's not easy because as somebody with anxiety, I could totally see myself falling into this where it's just like, well, I want to do it so that we don't have to deal with the debt later.
Yeah, I totally fell into this, and it was my fault in my marriage. So I was the breadwinner, but my ex-wife Stacy took care of everything else, right? All I had to do was show up and breathe, right?
Oh, she made you these cute little folders for when he went on business trips with all his outfits in them.
Because I don't know how to match my own clothes. It was adult animals. That's what it was. Okay. And, we were married for 18 and a half years, and we'd known each other for almost 2 decades, and falling into this pattern that when we divorced, I felt like at first I was totally lost because I haven't had to do anything for myself, but then realized like, oh my God, I forgot. I'm a somewhat capable human being. But it goes both ways, as Cassie was just saying.
But it's interesting that you bring that up too, because I do think there are situations where So you're the breadwinner, just to use your example, in your relationship, and you're also incredibly busy with all of your business ventures, right? So maybe the balance, and I don't know what was talked about in your marriage, but I could see a marriage like that, the balance being like, well, if I'm going to be working all the time, I need somebody at home to do stuff around the home, manage the house, and pick up this slack so I can do that. And then that's a partnership. So I think there's also an interesting dichotomy there. Is it mothering or is it a partnership? And I think it's when, Abby, you said one partner becomes under-functioning, then it's no longer a partnership. But I do think there's room for that kind of relationship as long as everyone is on the same
still
page.
Hi, my name's Kristen, and I'm under-functioning.
Do we even need to say save that?
Bert Show.